Supports Resolution 105. The gentleman from California, Mr. Cisneros, and a member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to quickly thank my colleague and chair of the House Armed Services, our House Committee on Veterans Affairs, Mr. Takano, for urging in his testimony to the House Committee of Rules that this amendment be made in order. I rise to offer an amendment which would include intensive health care services related to physical therapy for a service-connected disability in the definition of covered health care services. Physical therapy is an important aspect of any healing process and is often necessary for veterans suffering from sustained pain or discomfort from a service-connected disability. This experience can often involve lengthy commitments and long commutes to achieve results. For my constituents, accessing physical therapy services at VA health clinics, receiving regular physical therapy means making a regular commitment to be stuck in traffic on the 405 to drive to the Long Beach VA hospital. My amendment will ensure that veterans in need of physical therapy for a service-connected disability are specifically afforded access to child care services. VA benefits are not truly benefits if the costs associated with child care during regular appointments place too large a burden on veteran caretakers. Veterans and their families face many obstacles when transitioning back to civilian life, but access to health care should not be one of them. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves the balance of his time. The gentleman, for what purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I ask unanimous consent to rise in opposition, although I'm not opposed.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Cisneros, I share your concern. I've been on the 405, and I certainly understand that trip. I rise in support of Congressman Cisneros' amendment to include physical therapy for service-connected disabilities under the definition of a covered health service. Caring for service-connected conditions is the reason the VA healthcare system exists. Service-connected conditions should always take priority. I thank Congressman Cisneros for recognizing this with his amendment. I'm proud to join him in supporting it. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. The gentleman from California.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 1 minute of my time to my colleague from California, Mr. Takano.
The gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the gentleman for yielding. I support this amendment because it provides an important clarification that veterans receiving physical therapy for a service-connected disability will be able to access no-cost child care. When 50% of the veterans treated in VA facilities suffer from chronic pain, physical therapy is a vital part of their treatment that will reduce the need for prescribing opioids. We are in the midst of an opioid epidemic in this country, and many of our veterans sadly suffer from opioid addiction because they were prescribed these powerful drugs to treat pain. We should encourage other treatments like physical therapy that can address the root cause of pain and make it easier for them to access this care, which often requires multiple treatments over time. I thank the gentleman for this important amendment and urge my colleagues to support it. I yield back the balance of my time, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Caring for service-connected conditions is the reason the VA healthcare system exists. I strongly encourage Congressman Cisneros' amendment and encourage my colleagues and encourage them to support it also. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I have no further speakers and am prepared to close. I just want to reiterate that this is a simple common sense amendment. I urge my colleagues to adopt this amendment and yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields the balance of his time. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to.